Reddit. What's a secret your job keeps from the public? Story 1. Olive Garden server. You can get 3 free wine samples every time you go. When I was a server, you could get as many as you wanted if you weren't rude, and I pour heavily. Story 2. When we present yours and someone else's profile in front of an employer at the same time, a lot of times one of you is there to make the other look better. Story 3. We want to give students the assistance they need, but if a school is the one to test or diagnose a child for autism disorders, then we are the ones that have to pay for all the follow-up medical help. Story 4. All of our videos are made by the same people, in the same building, and we just changed the text and logo. All of the interviews are scripted too. They literally feed the lines to the subjects. Because they don't want to pay us a fair wage or give us benefits, we also don't have to sign anything, meaning no NDA. Story 5. I'm a special education teacher, and the amount of injuries people sustain while working in this field is staggering. I teach high school and the kids can go until they're 21, so most of the violent students are adult-sized. We get concussions, bites, broken wrists and arms, scalped, as well as touched inappropriately by students. By the way, I like my job very much and enjoy working with the students. However, there is so little public knowledge of how dangerous the position is. Story 6. Most of the time, all it takes for a free upgrade is being polite. My manager will literally ask us, are they being nice? Unless it's the weekend or a show night, then we literally do not have the availability. Yes, even if it's a show that you're not personally interested in going to. For everyone asking what I do, just assume it's like this everywhere, because it usually is. Story 7. I used to work for a pesticide company spraying flies on farms. Some of the poisons we used were so strong that 1 pint added to a 500-gallon tank of water and sprayed could knock flies right out of the air immediately was just as toxic as birds. In fact, we were told if we ever accidentally spilled a bottle of the stuff on the ground, we should contact the EPA to clean the mess rather than try to do it ourselves. Ironically, by fall, the flies had developed such a resistance to the poison that the only way it could get rid of them was if you drowned them in it. Still would kill birds, though. One last thing. It was an organic pesticide that could be absorbed through any unprotected skin of the human body. I worked there for just 1 year because of this. Story 8. Lots of professors are winging their lectures and showing up to office hours really does help your chances of a good grade. Story 9. I don't have a job, but back when I was 12 or 15, I would sometimes help out with a family business which was selling coffee and twisted chips. When it first started, the thing that attracted people was that we would always have baked goods up for grabs and everyone loved it. The reality was that we bought it all from Costco, put it in different packaging, and played it off as we made them ourselves. This went on for 2 years within the business. Story 10. We tell customers that we have a supplier we get our parts from for repairs. Amazon. Our supplier is Amazon. Story 11. You aren't supposed to know this, but we won the State Clean Audit Award for the 5th consecutive year and didn't notify our customers. This seems like something you'd want to tell people, though. Just a quick side note, if you love our content and like listening to our stories, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get updated for our future uploads. Thank you so much, and now back to the stories. Story 12. We claim to be a leader on the technology front, but we are literally running off of Excel macros with random codes that no one knows how to understand or correct without causing the entire company to crash. A lot of companies, even Fortune 500 companies, are just houses of cards. Shiny on the surface, then you get inside and you realize how much of the organization is dependent on Excel. You learn that they're dependent on legacy systems akin to DOS, and you learn that things are constantly breaking and the only thing keeping the whole company from imploding is people constantly fixing the things that go wrong. Story 13. At the hospital, they have secret employees who walk around to make sure doctors and nurses sanitize their hands before entering and exiting a patient's room. You'd be surprised how many don't follow protocol and end up getting written up in a day. Story 14. Worked in a no-kill animal shelter. The thing is, no-kill still does mean you have to put animals down sometimes, especially behavioral issues are terrible. When is a dog too dangerous? Can you rehome a pit bull with a bite history? What if they get too dangerous for staff to handle? Especially when it gets out that we had to put a specific animal down and all those Facebook warriors start rioting and calling you names. It's not like we make those decisions for fun. What's fun is none of those Facebook warriors are willing to donate any time or money to shelters. But they all know how one should be run. I'm so quick to ask someone who criticizes our local shelters on their euthanasia policies why they don't adopt or volunteer. No one ever can. Story 15. I work at a cemetery, and I can confirm that the concrete or metal vaults that the casket goes inside of in the ground do not keep the caskets from getting wet. Actually, they do the opposite and just hold water inside. The sales team will always try to paint a nice picture in your head of what the casket or vault combo will look like in the ground, and it's a complete lie. One of many lies in the cemetery and funeral business. Story 16. If you're a regular customer who doesn't tip your delivery driver, your order is never going to be a priority. And if you're an absolutely fantastic tipper, you have started many arguments, some possibly escalating to violence, over who gets to take the order. Story 17. Worked in a library for 2 years. We don't make diddly squat from your book or DVD fines. They're designed to be a deterrent more than anything else, and under the right circumstances, we're very amenable to just make them go away. If you had a tough week and couldn't make it to the library to return your books, we can work something out. Laughing about being too lazy to bring them back and forgetting you had them entirely? Yeah, those fines aren't going anywhere. That being said, libraries don't like to penalize people who can't pay their fines. If your kid has so many fines that the computer locks him out so he can't do his homework, we're usually more than happy to help you to get logged on for the day. Story 18. I work at a major chemical plant upriver from a major city. If it came out how old, rundown, and poorly maintained literally all of the equipment that we use to make sure that hundreds of millions of gallons of contaminated water don't leak or straight up spill into the river, the EPA would shut every plant in the river down. However, the EPA is aware of how inefficient and poorly disposed all our waste products are. The plant I work for has a yearly budget dedicated to paying fines. Cheaper to just pay the fine than to fix it. Good old corporate America. Story 19. Our secret sauce is just Thousand Island dressing. It always is. Story 20. We're supposed to be teaching information literacy, but none of us really checks to see if our student sources are legit or not. At first year university, I did some drinking instead of doing my assignment. Had to cite 5 sources, so I made up some book and article titles and listed the authors as the 5 Backstreet Boys names. I got a good mark. Story 21. Every bookbinder I've ever met owns all the stereotypical things required to summon a demon in their desk. None of us have ever done it as far as I know, but there's a power in that. Chalk? Yep. Leather? Definitely. Candies of all colors? Yep. Thick tomes of Latin or another dead language? Ha! We're probably repairing it right now even as you complain about the cracked spine of your notebook. Random herbs? Yep. I left my lunch here last week. A virgin sacrifice? I'm right here. Story 22. Bartender here. When it comes to wine, half the time we make up what we're telling you. Oh, the Chilean cab is a bit earthier with fruity notes, whereas the California is a drier botanical. It also should be known that I work in an Irish pub and not a 5-star wine house. Wine people are the worst snobs in the world, and will say whatever makes them stop talking to me. Story 23. One time my wife and I took a week-long trip to Las Vegas. This was when the Aladdin Hotel had just been open for about a year or so, and we got a good deal on a room there. Went to check in with all our luggage, and a nice desk clerk told us that our room wasn't ready. We could leave our luggage there behind the front desk, and to check back in an hour or so. We literally had nowhere we wanted to go right then, and both desperately wanted to just get to our room, shower, and change clothes as it had been a very long day. We got up at like 2 a.m. and drove 2 hours to the airport. You get the idea. After an hour of sitting in the bar, we checked back. She apologized and said it still wasn't ready. I said, that's cool. We'll just continue hanging out at the bar. Another hour goes by. I go up there to check, and now she's on the phone with housekeeping and is visibly pissed off. They're telling her 2 more hours before her room is ready. I told her that's okay. We got here really early, and we'll just go do some stuff on the strip and come back in like 5 p.m. or so. She said, wait, you know what? You're exactly the kind of people I like to help. Tell you what, I'm upgrading you to a strip suite for your entire stay, at the same price as your room. Here's your keys. It was a huge upgrade, and it was great. Our room overlooked the Bellagio fountains and had floor-to-ceiling windows even in the bathroom. So we stayed in a multi-room suite for a week for like $800 total. Politeness in the face of inconveniences puts you in a god-tier status with most agents. I would have done the same thing. Story 24. Your package gets thrown 5 to 20 feet more than 5 times in its journey to you. A lot more the further it has to be shipped. If it doesn't say fragile, it's getting chucked. You don't eat the fragile stuff? Story 25. Our pastries are supposed to be made fresh, but it's all just frozen in the freezer and we just heat it up. Story 26. Delivery driver. We add 10 to 15 minutes to the estimated delivery times so we seem speedy, not seem late if we're stuck in traffic. We also charge delivery fees that most people don't notice or ask about. Story 27. The longer I'm in engineering, the more I know that we don't get the design right, so much as just go with the best we have the moment we run out of time or budget. All engineers have the designs that are best, and the designs that the accountant approves. Those are 2 very different things. Story 28. Goodwill has their own landfills for things that don't sell. Things sit on shelves for weeks with continuous price decreases, then one last shot at selling at the outlet stores where everything is priced per pound. Also, I was just saying that because of the title. Don't get me wrong. The programs and community work they do is great. Story 29. Municipal worker here. We do actually work hard and care about the city, and it's hard on us when people stop or call to yell at us without getting all the facts and we know we can't really defend ourselves. Most of the time, you're reaming out a laborer who has no control over your taxes or which street is getting paved. Even after explaining it to a coworker of mine, she still couldn't quite grasp how you could have 3 to 4 guys prepare something, then stand around for 20 to 30 minutes while you're waiting on your scheduled concrete truck. Well, why do you need 3 to 4 guys there then? Concrete's set up fairly quickly, so you need enough manpower right then and there to get it poured properly. It might be 20 minutes of grueling work and 40 minutes of downtime while you're waiting on the next truck. After working that job, I now reserve judgment unless I know for a fact how that industry works. Story 30. Not my industry anymore, but banks would often make decisions that were probably technically illegal about which houses to repair. Story 31. Your child's school report is probably word for word the same as half of their class. There are only so many ways you can say, works hard but needs to focus on accuracy. My kid's current school limits the teachers to a set of stock sentences, so their report card reads like a primitive chatbot wrote it. Story 32. We don't recycle anything that we can't make money off of. Also, no one cares about PPE here. I'm supposed to have a back brace when lifting heavy objects, which I do often, yet there isn't a single one there. Not to mention there are only 4 to 5 pairs of safety glasses in the whole building, so not nearly enough for everyone. Story 33. Teacher here. We totally talk about your children in the faculty room all the time. Sometimes they're nice comments like, "Oh, you have Emma? I had her last year. She's awesome." Usually they're not nice. Story 34. If you get a call from a telemarketing or research call center, you need to specifically ask to be taken off the call list for them to stop calling. Don't be polite and make excuses. Don't mention that you don't have the time. Don't mention the time at all. Don't even just hang up. All of those will often have the company assume on a technicality that you could technically take the call at a later time. Just straight up ask to be taken off the call list, or put in their do not call list. You didn't hear this from me. Story 35. Maybe not the public, but they'd probably be shut down if OSHA or the FDA found out. Current job at an HVAC company. My bosses in the office know that about half of their employees, mostly supervisors, are taking substances. Out on the road, on the roof, wherever. Bosses in the office might be taking it too. They even let us know every year about the annual test, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be random and may not be still sketchy with regards to the above. Not like, you guys know what time of year it is. I hope you can pass. But more like, the test is in 3 months. That's probably enough time to pass if you stop now, without actually saying anything that could implicate them. Also, they don't care if we are safe. They just want the jobs done because they overbook them and need us to move fast. One guy fell off a ladder from 25 feet. He's been doing physical rehab, they refuse to pay workers' comp for him, and they're trying to get him to come back to work when he literally shouldn't be doing anything other than lifting a cup for a drink. I've had multiple times where I want to put my harness and lanyard on because the roof is 30 feet or more from the ground, and my direct supervisor from that week gives me smack and tells me to hurry up because it's a waste of time. Most of the supervisors on the road don't wear the required safety gear when they should. Supervisors don't care either. They just want to move fast so they can keep their numbers up. Guarantee if I got seriously injured, they would ask if I could still work, not call 911 to help me. Story 36. I work at a university facilities department. My colleagues actually really do care about students, student research and opportunities at uni and beyond for students. There shouldn't be a secret, but I'm constantly and consistently impressed by how much of our electricians, custodial staff, EHS, you name it, care about students excelling and achieving. Story 37. I currently work at a substance and alcohol rehab. AA has an abysmal success rate. If you measure success by continuous sobriety over a significant period of time, and that is how AA tends to measure it. But because one drink is considered a failure, a lot of people drop out of AA, out of shame, and it takes them a long time to get sober again, if ever. I've seen people with 20 plus years of sobriety beat themselves up and feel like failures over one night of drinking. Various harm reduction interventions have higher success rates. Harm reduction strategies measure success by drinking and using less often, in smaller quantities and more responsibly. If almost all last year you were pretty messed up, but you're sober often enough to show up for work most days this year, that's a success. Here's the big shocker. Most problem drinkers and users recover on their own without treatment. By recovery, I mean learning how to have a functional relationship with alcohol and substances. I know a few people in our community that were court-ordered to rehab and or AA years ago, and stopped going as soon as they didn't have to anymore. They aren't 100% sober all the time by now, but they go to work every day, they have happy marriages, they take good care of their children, they don't get arrested, and they don't get behind the wheel under the influence. I'm not saying 12-step programs are worthless. Some do stay sober for the rest of their lives and are happy. I think that's a success, but it's not the solution for everyone. Unfortunately, rehabs that use different treatment models tend to not receive government funding. Courts tend not to refer defendants to harm reduction, and AA, unfortunately, perpetuates the myth that permanent sobriety is the only alternative to prison, the madhouse, or death, and that AA is the only place to achieve permanent sobriety. Story 38. Not at the current company, but former one. Everyone had to take additional coursework on business ethics and anti-corruption laws because a subsidiary was found bribing officials to sell the company's products. A clinical trial for Parkinson's failed because of SAEs, serious adverse events, resulting in at least 3 deaths related to the product. It's now being reformulated and will go through clinical trials again as an arthritis medication. Another clinical trial failed because it was found to be toxic for Asian blood cells. They had originally tried to bypass this by excluding Asians from the trial. Just to be clear, not all pharma companies are like this. There are always a few bad apples. Story 39. Not my current job, but I used to work as a front desk agent in hotels. Hotels can and do book more rooms than are available. Most systems allow sites like Expedia to book the hotel 102%. Expedia bookings are the lowest priority. If you don't want to get bumped, book from the hotel's own website. Also be aware that at midnight, the booking system rolls over to the next day. If you need a room after midnight, call the hotel. Story 40. A lot of restaurants I worked at relied majorly on microwaves, still. Large batches, pre-prepped, labeled by date, and frozen in. Even if they did keep an eye on those dates, Gordon Ramsay and any other kitchen inspection program would still have a cow. Story 41. I feel for civil servants. When I was interviewed for my green card, I wasn't the first there, but I was the first they took that morning. Why? According to the consular office, I was the only person that day who had filled out all the paperwork correctly. It wasn't that hard, and clearly was a legitimate case. I think it took 5 minutes. Most will take 30. Same story when I went to renew my passport. I was taken in the right order, but was profusely thanked for actually filling out the forms correctly and bringing everything correctly. She said that she prepares for an argument with each new person like she can change what the Department of State needs. Maybe a 5-minute interaction, mostly spent on the slow credit card reader. Read the instructions, people. Story 42. Climate science. We would get paid the same even if there was no such thing as climate change. You wouldn't have thought that was a secret, but here we are. Story 43. Starbucks operates some stores in a region or district intentionally on a loss in order to weed out competition. They pretend to be about the community, but they're just another slimy corporation who only cares about money. Also, 7-Eleven has better coffee. Story 44. The chicken bites aren't cooked to order. The fries look darker today not because they're extra crispy, but because the shift manager was too lazy to change the oil, which should be changed every 5 hours. The house sauce is just mayo, ketchup, paprika, and pickle brine. The sticky patch outside the bathroom might be pee. Story 45. The average programmer IT guy is just better at Googling things than you are. Story 46. When you leave a tip on the DoorDash app, it always benefits DoorDash, but rarely benefits the driver. In my location, a tip of $5 or less does not increase a driver's pay, ever. A tip of $5 or less goes directly to the company's bottom line. The driver's bottom line is not increased a single penny. A $6 tip will result in a maximum increase of $1 for your driver, usually less. The first $5 of every tip only benefits the company. The short-term solution, tip in cash or use Grubhub. The long-term solution, start or join a class action lawsuit. The courts have defined the concept of tipping in the past, and DoorDash is not applying diner tips according to generally accepted practices.